Also biryani with the way, which I am missing from Hyderabad. So hope you had only one ice cream and one gulab jamun, not more than that. Yeah, very well. It is really a privilege for me to speak among the journalists. If there is any person who hears everything that's happening in the society, he is the journalist. They are the most knowledge personality. They're the most knowledge personality because you have information about everything that is happening. Master of? I don't say that. That's your personal choice. No prejudice. Yeah. The reason being, journalism as such is a wonderful and noble profession. Noblest of the noble profession, I must say. Because you empower citizens, point number one, and you acknowledge the government also. You have that privilege and access to be part of each and everything. Right? A common man cannot be part of the court proceedings. Only a lawyer can be part of the court proceedings. But a journalist has the privilege to be part of court proceedings. Not just the court proceedings, but also the proceedings of any legislature for that matter. There is a transformation in journalism. There is a transformation in journalism. So we will try to understand what it is, how it has happened, and let us try to see. One important quote I really liked. I disapprove of what you say. I may respect or I might despise of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. See, which means that everybody has got the right of expressing something, freedom of expression, which is a constitutional right. Nobody can deny that. If somebody is denying it, and if I'm wearing this grey, I should wear black and defend you. Yeah. So, what basically Constitution talked about? 19(1)(a), Article 19(1)(a) talks about freedom of speech and expression. Other than that, you also have other rights. Right? So now there are a lot of citizen journalism that is coming up. What is this citizen journalism? How do we derive the power? Citizen journalism. 19(1)(a) read with 19(1)(g) gives rise to citizen journalism. There is no embargo on journalism as such, profession as such, because for a doctor you need some certification, some license. For a lawyer you have that, but for this you do not have any license as such. You can be, if you get accredited with some media organization, then you can be called as a journalist. So 19(1)(a) read with 19(1)(g) gives the right of citizen journalism. Right. So there are reasonable restrictions that are posed on 19(1)(a). Who imposes this? Only the state can impose. In the form of what? In the form of legislation. Only legislation by the state action, right, can impose some restriction subject to on the grounds of security of the state, friendly relations with the foreign states, public order, decency and morality, contempt of court, defamation, incitement to any offense, or sovereignty and integrity of India. These are the grounds where a state can impose some reasonable restrictions. It didn't say restrictions alone, it just said reasonable restriction. The word reasonable is again very expansive and it has got very wide interpretation. So, as I said, there is so much that we can talk about journalism. Journalism being the fourth pillar. If there is anything that upholds the democracy, it is journalism. Journalism is the bridge between society and government. Journalism, I will draw a simple analogy. Journalism is the bridge between the society, which comprises of citizens, and the government. When I said a bridge, it must stand on some pillars. What are those pillars? The pillars for this bridge are public interest. First important pillar, public interest. Second one, accountability, integrity, and there are many rest of the things. But the first and foremost thing that happens to be very significant is the pillar of public interest. Now let us try to understand the journalism with aspect to this pillar. There are so many citizen journalists that are coming apart from the mainstream journalists. There are so many mainstream journalists, and there are also a couple of few upcoming journalists, right? By the virtue of the article, you are conferred with the right. But what needs to be kept in mind is anything you write and report must be with respect to the public interest. So where do we get this public interest and all that? Let's see, we'll try to examine that also, that aspect also. But before that, we will try to analyze three questions with regards to the journalism. There are so many changes in the journalism. What are they? First one, what has changed the journalism? Second one, what are the changes are there in journalism? And third one, what are the consequences? Let us try to analyze each and every point. We have answer, and most of your questions, whatever you asked in the morning, have answers in these questions, by the way. What has changed journalism? Technology. Is only technology changed the journalism? No. It is also the society that changed the journalism. Politics, absolutely. But primarily, if there is anything that influenced the journalism to change, are two. Point number one, technology, and the second one is the society. Somebody was asking, right, if I remember, Mr. Dinesh was asking this question, what makes a news publisher to write more of a fictional stories? Yeah, that is with respect to the consumption of the society. Society now today, they consume more of a fiction. Why? And see, because the narrative, whatever, see, earlier, we used to tell, let's say, when we are feeding small kids, we used to show up the moon and say, Chanda Mama Rave, or whatever, twinkle, twinkle, little star, we used to feed them. Today, how many of you are showing Chanda Mama? You are showing what? YouTube. Right? Right? Chanda Mama. Unfortunate. That is because of the urbanization, pollution. Right? Very right. Rightly said. But if you go back to the villages, the skies are very clear, very transparent. You can see the spark of each of the stars. Right? So that is unfortunate thing. The consumption. And the second one is with respect to the monetization. Since we are in the profession, what also drives us is what? Monetization. Consumption, monetization, and gratification of the society. If you write something, morning there was one good example CP sir has cited. Right? Prabhas has gifted something so and so. If you write straightforwardly, do you think the audience will read? Do you think the society will read? They will not read. So what do you have to do? You have to make up a story on it. Right? So what happens? That everybody starts clicking on that link. That's where we make money. Right? So the primary reason for writing the fiction or whatever is the three things I would like to talk about: monetization, gratification, and consumption needs. And also the technology. Earlier, we used to depend on technology. Let's go back to 2012. We had e-paper. Whatever the paper we used to get in the physical copy is supposed to be in a PDF format. But today, it is no PDF. Less of the PDF, though there are PDF circulation, but we have instantaneous news. If I have to read a newspaper, I used to have to wait for at least 24 hours to read that particular thing. But today, as in when the news comes in it is out, it immediately comes onto that. So technology is changing and society is changing. So these are the two important things that change the journalism. What are the changes in there in the journalism? Point number one, as I said, 24 hours, it is not 24 nanoseconds, news is out now. 24 nanoseconds, the news is out. You see, Any important GO that is out from the CMO immediately gets onto everybody's phone, right? And today, technology, with the advent of technology, everybody can make their own channel. Yes or no? Earlier, if I have to set up a news channel, I should have invested so much in the machinery and infrastructure and people and technology a lot today. But today now, we do not really need to do that. Everything is taken care. Right? Cloud technology, mobility. There are many changes in the journalism. Now let us try to understand more on the part of the consequences of these changes. What are the consequences of these changes? Everybody wants to make news sensational. Why? The reasons I have already quoted you before. Gratification, consumption, and monetization. So when in an attempt to achieve that sensationalism, what happened? Without verification of the data, I am trying to push whatever I get onto the internet. And there are so many, journalists that are coming up who do not adhere to the code of conduct. Right? We will talk about the code of conduct. What is that code of conduct also? So one important as such, Madam, please. Please go ahead.
But you did mention about the pillars for the bridge.
Correct.
And my query is this: you mentioned that public
interest.
Thank you. I think my voice is loud enough, but I'm Madhavi. My question is that even before we talk about the public and we talk about authority, responsibility, things like accountability. I think Constitution is what actually defines journalism even before the public or anything else does.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. So I was wondering why, and that too as a Supreme Court advocate, you're not mentioning Constitution as a fundamental or the core aspect of what journalism is all about.
The core aspect, as I said in the very beginning, I might have not used the term democracy at that slide, but I have talked about the same thing in the very beginning, the moment I introduced the slide. Right? Yeah. That's my answer. I said democracy is one of the important pillars of journalism is the important pillars of the society, as you know, one of which, see, I'll tell you.
My query is this.
Tell me.
It is not public per se which determines journalism as much as the Constitution does, is what I'm trying to say. The Constitution first sets the tone for how a journalist should behave. When you're talking about the code of conduct, it's again what is the
Constitution does not talk about the code of conduct.
The Constitution does talk about the articles, which is in a way the code of conduct on which it is based.
No, it just confers the rights. It just confers the right. It does not detail down the conduct. We will talk about the conduct. There is a separate authority who has given that conduct. Yeah? Thank you. So now the consequences of the changes in the journalism, one of the consequences I would like to say is the fake news or disinformation sans public interest. Sans, without public interest. Not everybody, by the way, whatever I'm talking here is not applicable to everybody. There are few set of upcoming citizen journalists who do not really go through the code of conduct and they report everything that comes onto their fingers. Right? So what are they? Whenever we try to publish something, it creates distrust in the media. I'm sure most of us have read some comments in the videos or the post on the whatever the channels. They say, you don't have any work. What is this news all about? Yes or no? Right? Yeah. So that means there is some distrust in the media. Second one, undermining the democratic process. As I said, journalism is the breath of the democracy. The moment it ceases to perform its primary function, then it definitely undermines the democratic process. As I said, it empowers citizens and it also acknowledges the government. See, one important point I would like to quote here. The result of effective journalism is not measured in number of likes or not number of retweets or shares, but how the government has acknowledged whatever the story you have written. Hope you got my point. Yeah? There are very good journalists before and now, of course, in this room, who has reported some incredible articles which made government to implement certain public policies, administrative actions. They didn't look for the likes, they didn't look for the number of shares or retweets. The real fruit of journalism reflects in how you made the government to issue certain administrative policies or whatever you can call them. Right? And the next one, platform for harmful conspiracy theories and hate speech. Unfortunately, there is another thing which I want to talk about. Whenever we combine politics with religion, the reaction is different. Yes or no? Harmful. In the same context, we should not mix journalism with religion also. Same. You cannot combine both. And the next one, spread of false or discredited science. Somebody says, they have found something without any evidence or without any study or report. Then definitely these are the negative consequences and communal violence. So these all are the impacts or the consequences of the fake news or misinformation or disinformation. One important thing I want to talk about here. You have seen the national emblem. What is written under it? Satyameva, truth will always triumph. That is the half part only. What follows next? There is another something after Satyameva Jayate. What is that? Na Anrutam. It says Satyameva Jayate Na Anrutam. What does it mean? There is no scope for falsehood. Only truth will triumph. Right? If you go back to the religious text Quran again, 242, Al-Baqarah and 42, there it says, do not mix up truth with the falsehood. Right? And there are enough sayings in Bible too. Right? Let us look around how we can draw inspiration to hold onto the truth and report the fact. Right? Today, I talked about the changes in the journalism. Rather than facts, reporting facts, we are reporting more on the opinions. We are reporting more of the opinions. We have to report more of the facts. Even Honorable Justice, Chief Justice, former Chief Justice, N.V. Ramana, he has categorically mentioned that it is the responsibility of the journalism to report more on the facts rather than the opinions. Right? So let us try to examine a couple of things as such. And if there is anything that paralyzed the truth, that is misinformation. In common parlance, I would like to say misinformation, but if you study in detail, it is not the misinformation that causes harmful effects. It is disinformation. It is disinformation that has got very, very extreme ramifications, I must say. So what are the three types of, fake news or, we can talk about? One is the misinformation, second one is the disinformation, and the third one is the malinformation. We have laws for disinformation. If you go back to overseas, abroad countries, there are laws that talk about disinformation. Categorically, they talk about disinformation. The reason being, people may spread information to cause harm or manipulate people. This is a deliberate action. This is a deliberate action. So we need to put a check onto this. So how we can put a check onto it? See, there are two things whenever we write something, out of curiosity or out of, to just satisfy saying that I must publish this news first, and then we do not verify anything and then immediately we publish it. If we can hold on for a moment and verify whether it is correct or wrong and understand the credentials of it and source, then we would not publish it. That is only one aspect I'm talking about. There are many other aspects as such. So as I said, acting in the public interest. So let us try to understand the fundamental objective of the journalism is to serve the people with news, views, comments and information on matters of public interest in a fair, accurate, unbiased is an important word, sober and decent manner. Just let us try to look at the retrospect, many examples we have come across, put it in this lens and view them. Then you will understand what we have today. Right? So the term public interest is a very broad term. It is not clearly defined. But when you look at the Press Complaints Commission, I was actually looking at if there is any definition where we have the clarity on what constitutes the public interest. Then I got this definition which says, detecting or exposing crime or a serious misdemeanor. Second one, protecting public health and safety, and preventing the public from being misled by some statement or action of an individual or organization. This is the public interest. So out of the point 3, it also means that we have the responsibility, we have to protect and we have to defend the misinformation or the disinformation. It is not just we give the correct information, it is also our responsibility to protect from the misinformation. Another important point. So now let us try to understand. Somebody asked from this part in the morning, do we have any guidelines? What needs to be posted, how it needs to be posted and all that? Yes, we do have. That is called Norms of Journalist Conduct 2022. Where do you find it? You find it on Press Council of India website. When you open Press Council of India website, you go to that Norms and Guidelines tab. There you have the exhaustive list of what needs to be taken care of. They have talked about each and every point. Please, it is very important for the upcoming citizen, journalists, whoever trying to establish their channels, to look at the code of conduct prescribed by it, and it has also got the recognition under IT intermediary guidelines. IT intermediary guidelines, it talks about the social media, it talks about the publishers of two kinds of publishers. One is the news and current affairs publisher, the other being the publisher of the online curated platforms such as OTTs. They has also recognized this particular point. Right. So if I have to talk about the one or the other one, they have categorically mentioned in one point saying that it is also necessary that press, particularly the small local press, learn to appreciate the distinction between the matters of public interest and those in public interest, and which needs to be given weightage only to the public interest. While gossips and social dealings may be found to be in interest by the public, but they serve no public purpose or interest, and the press should scrupulously avoid wasting its precious space on such matters. All this is mentioned in the conduct which I've talked about in the previous slide. Press Council of India, I'm sure everybody must have heard about and are aware of. See, please look at that code of conduct which gives you what needs to be done and how it needs to be done. Right? And I want to show you some relevant cases wherein the YouTube channel owners are, actually slapped with a lot of cases. 2 arrested for offensive posts on YouTube channels. Right? There is an offense. What you have done? You have posted something which incites the communal violence. Right? We'll talk about the statutory part later. Let us try to understand what are the consequences if we, deliberately spread misinformation on this. It is not just for the journalists, it is for everybody who is trying to become a citizen journalist. Because I'm sure mainstream journalists are quite aware of this, but the upcoming citizen journalists do not have an idea, do not have the idea of consequences. So this is an endeavor to help the upcoming citizenry journalists to understand the ramifications. YouTuber arrested in Haryana supporters protest, barged into women's Tehsildar office, followed her to washroom with camera on. Understand, there is a citizenry, journalist who started a YouTube channel, representing a group of people, went to Tehsildar and says, you have received so many grievances, you have received so many complaints, what is your action on it? He didn't stop in the middle. And she said, I want to go to the washroom. He didn't stop there and he ran after the same. Understand? I understand. We definitely have the freedom of expression, freedom to protest, freedom to question, but in the rightful manner. Just imagine someone turning on the camera. You tell me now, why didn't you act? She's running into the bathroom and how can you go? A small mistake. Maybe the intent is to express the pain that there are so many people waiting for your timely action. But that is not the way, right? Facebook video live on karke, he is trying to do that. Tell me now. We see so many videos where we go to public servants and say, tell me now. Right? You have a right to do that, but if you slip the line, then definitely they have to slap with some cases. And they will investigate the matter, it will go to the court, court will adjudicate. Court will decide whether you have done wrong or not. But in the time, we face some kind of, pain. An YouTuber arrested in Bihar for spreading fake videos on migrant workers in Tamil Nadu. There is a news, if you clearly see through, what happened? He has posted a video saying that laborers from Bihar are killed, are tortured, are not given proper treatment and all that. What happened? I'll tell you what happened here. First, there were cases in Bihar. There are cases registered in Bihar first. And then later, they have registered cases in Tamil Nadu also. He has got bail from the cases that are lodged in Bihar. And then immediately, he is enlarged on the bail, he is released from the jail. And immediately, police from Tamil Nadu has arrested him. And he has come to Supreme Court saying that, I want the relief. Supreme Court did not give the relief. For some technicality, there is some technicality. You have an alternative remedy under the High Court where you can ask them to combine all the FIRs. This is not the forum where you have to talk about it. On the technical ground, they missed it. Right? So, I don't know what we can call it. See, the consequence of misinformation or disinformation. Right? I'm just telling you the sum and substance of the offense. And next one, Tamil Nadu YouTuber couple arrested for obscenity and PUBG live stream. I said, he talked about only the fiction. There is also porn coming out of it. Just for what? Monetization. Obscenity is coming on platforms. Right? They have performed obscene in an obsceneful manner on the internet while playing the PUBG. And then later they were charged for the same. So what drove them to do that? What drove them to do that? Monetization, gratification. Right? And the next one, 3 YouTubers held for uploading obscene videos and molesting girls. It is an interesting thing. So what happened? We see lot of prank videos on the internet. Yes, we follow a lot of channels who make pranks. Right? Somebody goes to a lady and says, are you a virgin? What type of sex you want to have? I'm sorry, the subject to thing. This is the practical thing that they ask in the prank videos. Yes or no? Right? He paid them and he took their consent and later he slapped with the charges. Why? That's an obscene act. 354A, find out 9. Right? We'll talk about those sections as well. So what I'm trying to say is, whatever we try to do, and in, you know, unnecessary, dwellings or whatever ramifications. This is especially for the upcoming citizen journalists. Mainstream media, I'm sure they know each and everything what we're discussing, but the upcoming citizenry journalism, the participant in this particular profession needs to be very careful about this. Odisha YouTuber arrested for training parrot. He maintains a YouTube channel and he says, you know how to train a parrot. This is how you need to feed it. This is how you need to train it to say hi, hello. And he got arrested. Why? He has committed an offense under Wildlife Protection Act. Interesting. Just imagine the consequence. Ignorance of law is not a defense. I'm sorry. Ignorance of the law is not a defense. You have to be very careful when it comes to the internet. I'll show one slide, you will understand the entire sum and substance of this presentation by that. Right, Supreme Court refuses bail to mother who let her minor children paint on her body. This is a sensational case from where? Kerala. Right? What happened? Even the court, honorable court said, so I'm so sorry, you cannot do this with your child. Booked under what? Exactly. Right. And somebody says immediately, LMAO not surprised that if male judge denied Rehana Fatima male judge, see category says in caps, male judge, right? Bail because women, please hide your bodies unless it is used for male gratification or as a birthing factory. Does it make sense? Right? So where are we heading up to? This is absolutely sans the ethical grounds. Right? And the next one, Kerala High Court refused to declare breastfeeding cover photo of magazine as obscene. This is another interesting thing. See what happened? One of the magazine publisher has, published this image where it says, mothers tell Kerala, please don't stare, we need to breastfeed, don't stare, we are breastfeeding. That's what it says. And somebody filed a case on this particular magazine saying that this is obscene material, how can you allow such material to come in the press? Actually, this is in favor of press, by the way. And the judgment is authored by my senior, who happened to be the Justice of Kerala High Court when he got this matter on his bench. Right? And he said, for the same thing, obscenity lies in the crotch of the beholder. See, sometimes even the court, that's what I said, court will adjudicate, court will decide whether it is right or wrong. But unnecessarily, let us not run into the negative things. Right? She was so shellacked. Right? Whoever is the celebrity, she was shellacked. She was got trounced like anything. Right? Joseph said in an interview to NDTV, I was slut-shamed, was termed a blue film actor. My mother was called names, but I knew I would have to hear all this. I took it in my stride. This issue is about sitting at an important cause. The cause, what she is actually doing, is to promote the breastfeeding. And somebody actually tried to book her under indecent representation of women. Right? And judge said, no, it is nothing wrong. There is nothing wrong in it. It is in the eye of the beholder. Right? And what he said, what may be obscene to some may be artistic to the other. Right? That's what it means, one man's vulgarity is another man's lyric. Right? There are courts will also protect you, by the way. Right? So far I've showed you so many things where, there were, legal consequences, but it comes after a long time. Somebody has to go through all this pain. Literally, see what she has expressed. What is the point? Right? So of course, this is in the good cause. I do that, agree with that. And what are the relevant sections under IPC? This is not the exhaustive list, by the way. Right? This is not the exhaustive list of sections which I'm talking about. Whatever has come to my attention, or whenever I was just looking at the sections and whatever I have the knowledge of, in the above cases, I have listed them. 124 sedition though, that is in abeyance. Right? Now nobody can book under 124 because Supreme Court categorically stated in the last May that it is in abeyance, don't charge, don't register cases on it, right? And the next important section, if somebody is actually trying to post some disinformation or misinformation, whatever you call, but for me it is different. Misinformation is different, disinformation is different, right? It is different for me. But in a general parallels, it is considered to be one and the same. All right. So 153, wantonly giving provocation with intent to cause riot. If it causes a riot, then it that person, whoever posted that information, can be booked under this particular section, section 153. And next one, section 153A, promoting enmity between different groups on grounds of religion, race, place of birth, residence, language, and doing acts prejudicial to maintenance of harmony. Right? So, let's say if you are promoting enmity between the classes, 3 years, if you are promoting enmity between the classes in the place of worship, what is in the place of worship? What is in the place of worship? Can it be only a temple or mosque? It can be any place. If people come together and say we are worshipping, yes, it's a place of worship. And it is a online Skype call where people come together and try to do it, is a place of worship. The interpretations are many. It depends on the interpretation, but that comes in the later form. And one of the important point I would like to tell you, the jurisprudence of this particular, cyber laws, or how we apply laws to the cyber environment, is in its vestigial stage. It is not completely developed. It is just evolving, it is developing. Right. And next one, 153B, imputations, assertions prejudicial to national integration. If there are any posts, right, which are attributed for integration of the nation, then 153B. And 171G, false statement in connection with an election. If elections are coming in and if somebody is trying to post some misinformation about the elections, please look at this section. Please educate the citizen journalists. 182, false information with intent to cause public servant to use his lawful power to the injury or another person. Please note down this section. I don't want to read out each and everything because due to the paucity of time, I will have to skip, immediately. And next one, 189, threat of injury to public servant. Normally, it has become a fashion these days to obstruct the officer, police officers or any executive officers to perform their duties, and they take pride in it. I'm sorry, it is an offense. Right? Please be mindful of that. Section 193, threat of injury to induce person to refrain from applying for protection to public servant. It can be of many different ways. See, how you interpret law is many different ways. One section, there are thousands of pages running only on one section. Depends on the matter, depends on the grounds, depends on the case-to-case thing. 203, giving false information respecting an offense committed. There are many interpretations I can give, but due to the paucity of time, I will not be able to do. Just note down these sections, read in your free time so that you will get more idea. 228, you are sharing the PPT. Please go through that and then, you can do that. And disclosure of identity, yes, this is very important, 228A. I have seen in one recent news actually, I'll tell you, 228A, there was one rape case wherein the victim's name was there. In the very recent times, I'm telling you, April month, some newspaper, they have written this. Recent April, there is some rape case registered in some police station, and they have written the name of the victim, prosecutrix. I'm sorry, we cannot do this. 228 bars mentioning the identity of the victim. 269, negligent act likely to spread infection of dangerous life during the corona and all that. Of course, it is in consonance with the Disaster Management Act as well. And sale obscene books, 292. 294, obscene acts and songs. What is obscenity is again, how you look at obscenity, what are the grounds adjudicate matters are, well, that's a different science altogether. 295A, deliberate and malicious act intent to outrage religious feelings of any class by insulting its religion or religion beliefs. Please be mindful. Right? Disturbing religious assembly, uttering words with deliberate intent to wound religious feelings. Whenever we post, make sure that we are not causing any wound to the religious feelings. Punishment for voluntary causing hurt. I'll tell you one good example. There's one journalist who is questioning the sitting MLA or MP, asking that you promised so many things before the elections. What have you done now? Tell me. He confronted literally, and there is a case booked on him under 323 in UP. Yes. Right. So there is a way how we conduct right? There's a way how we conduct. There is definitely the freedom of expression. There cannot be arbitrariness in terms of the executive action. But first and foremost, it is our important that we have to conduct ourselves according to the Press Council of India conduct, what they have enumerated. That is very important. And 354A, sexual harassment and punishment for sexual harassment. Right? Now, making sexually colored remarks shall be guilty of the offense of sexual harassment. There are a lot of prank videos. I discourage that seriously. I do not like. Right? Maybe entertainment also, it is not the right way of entertainment, I'm saying. Right? There are YouTube stars or Facebook stars, I don't know what you call them. They disgustingly talk to the women. There must be some woman who should come forward and say, please file them under this particular thing. What does it say? Making sexually colored remarks shall be guilty of the offense of sexual harassments. Right? Demand of request for sexual favors. But the only issue is locus standi. Alright? And next one, stalking. Now we follow a lot of movie actors, what they are writing on their Facebook. What if they come back and say, you are stalking me? Whatever, I don't know what is that names. See, normally we write, this celebrity has removed him, the ex-husband or future husband or whatever. How did you know? How did you know? Stalking, right? What did you say? What did it say? Monitors the use by a woman of the internet, email or any form of electronic communication commits the offense of stalking. Before that there is or. It is not and. Understood? So how you interpret and how you look at it is different. And next one, extortion. There are instances of extortion money by citizenry, claiming to be we are the journalist and we have accreditation. There are upcoming journalists, YouTube, especially YouTube stars, they are trying to extort. 383, right? And 463, all this false document are applicable. Defamation, slander and libel, there are things, please look at it. 505, statements conducting public mischief. Yes, this is the most used section again, 505, right? And 505B, if I have to go back, yeah, statements creating or promoting enmity, hatred or ill between classes, right? Yeah, yeah. Punishment for criminal intimidation, word, gesture and act intended to insult the modesty of women. So always remember, internet never sleeps and never forgets. We might forget what we have written, we might forget what we have posted, but internet will never do that. It is very tough to remove all its traces. Right? We do not know how many shares, how many platforms the information has gone. Right? So please ensure that whatever we try to do, let us not try to victimize the truth. Let us not try to victimize the truth is the message. Right? So that's all from my side. Thank you very much.